Have you ever noticed that the women who leave the deepest impression are not always the loudest, the richest, or even the most beautiful? Years later, you may not remember what they wore or how perfect they looked, but you'll remember how they made people feel. That's because true beauty isn't something you see first. It's something you experience. Today, I want to share 7 traits that make a woman not just attractive, but unforgettable. And here's the surprising part. Every one of these traits is a choice, not a gift. Good morning, everyone. We live in a world that constantly tells women that they need to look a certain way to be admired. Social media teaches us to chase perfection. Advertisements convince us that beauty comes from products. But the truth is, the women who inspire us most rarely become unforgettable because of appearance alone. People are drawn to character long before they are drawn to perfection. The world will continue to define beauty by appearances, but history remembers people because of character. Years from now, no one will remember the perfect outfit. They'll remember the woman who gave hope, who encouraged others, who stood for something bigger than herself, who lived with purpose. Because in the end, being irresistible isn't about making people notice you. It's about making people's lives better because you were there. Thank you. Imagine meeting 2 women for the very first time. One walks into the room trying to impress everyone. She carefully chooses every word, constantly looks around to see who is watching, and changes her opinions depending on who she's speaking to. The other woman doesn't demand attention. She isn't trying to prove anything. She smiles genuinely, listens carefully, and speaks with quiet confidence. She knows who she is and what matters to her. Days later, you may struggle to remember the first woman's appearance, but you'll remember the second woman's presence. What made the difference? It wasn't beauty. It wasn't status. It wasn't talent. It was purpose. Purpose is one of the most attractive qualities any person can possess because it answers one simple question: why do I do what I do? Every morning, we all wake up with choices. Some people spend their lives chasing approval, while others spend their lives chasing meaning. The difference between those 2 paths is enormous. When a woman knows her purpose, she no longer depends on the opinions of others to define her worth. She doesn't need constant applause because her motivation comes from something much deeper than compliments or recognition. Think about a compass. A compass doesn't change direction every time the wind blows. It always points north. In the same way, a woman with purpose doesn't allow every criticism, every trend, or every obstacle to determine the direction of her life. She may listen to advice, she may learn from mistakes, but she never loses sight of the values that guide her. That quiet certainty creates a sense of confidence that cannot be bought or imitated. Many people believe confidence comes from success, wealth, or appearance. But real confidence comes from clarity. When you know why you're doing something, fear loses much of its power. You stop asking, "What will people think of me?" and start asking, "Am I living according to what I believe?" That small shift changes everything. Instead of chasing acceptance, you begin creating impact. Instead of trying to fit in, you begin standing for something meaningful. History is filled with remarkable women who inspired others not because they lived perfect lives, but because they lived purposeful ones. They faced rejection, criticism, and failure, yet they continued moving forward because they believed their mission mattered more than their comfort. Their influence wasn't built on appearance, it was built on conviction. They remind us that purpose gives ordinary people the courage to do extraordinary things. Purpose also changes the way we handle challenges. Without purpose, every setback feels like the end of the journey. A single failure can destroy confidence because there is nothing deeper holding us together. But when purpose becomes our foundation, failure becomes a lesson instead of a definition. We begin to understand that obstacles are not signs to quit. They are opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Purpose doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it gives those difficulties meaning. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must have their entire future figured out before discovering their purpose. That's not true. Purpose isn't always found in one dramatic moment. More often, it is discovered through small, consistent choices made every day. It grows every time a woman chooses honesty over convenience, service over selfishness, courage over fear, and growth over comfort. Purpose isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing the direction you want your life to take. When a woman lives with purpose, the people around her feel it. Her family feels safe because they know she is dependable. Her friends trust her because her values remain consistent. Her colleagues respect her because she works for excellence rather than attention. She becomes someone whose words carry weight because they are backed by action. She doesn't have to convince people she is authentic. They can see it in the way she lives. Purpose also frees a woman from the exhausting habit of comparison. In today's world, it's easy to measure ourselves against carefully edited images and highlight reels. Social media constantly whispers that someone else is prettier, smarter, richer, or more successful. But purpose changes the conversation. Instead of asking, "Why am I not like her?" a woman with purpose asks, "Am I becoming the person I was created to be?" That question brings peace because success is no longer measured by comparison but by faithfulness to one's own journey. At the end of life, very few people will remember the number of compliments they received or the trends they followed. They will remember the lives they touched, the kindness they shared, the courage they displayed, and the difference they made. A woman who knows her purpose leaves behind more than memories. She leaves behind a legacy. And that is what makes her truly lovely and genuinely irresistible. Not the beauty that fades with time, but the purpose that grows stronger with every passing year. There is a common belief in today's world that kindness is a soft quality, something that belongs to people who are too gentle to stand up for themselves. But nothing could be further from the truth. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength under control. It is the decision to respond with compassion when pride tells us to react with anger. It is the courage to choose love when the easier option is resentment. Anyone can criticize. Anyone can judge. Anyone can hurt another person. But it takes real character to choose kindness, especially when it costs something. Think about the people who have changed your life the most. Chances are you don't remember them because they were the smartest or the most successful. You remember them because they made you feel seen. They listened when others ignored you. They encouraged you when you doubted yourself. They believed in you before you believed in yourself. Long after their words have faded, the feeling they created remains. That is the quiet power of kindness. It leaves a mark that time cannot erase. A woman who leads with kindness understands that every person she meets is fighting a battle she cannot see. The cashier who seems distracted may be caring for a sick parent. The colleague who appears distant may be carrying the weight of anxiety. The friend who suddenly becomes quiet may be struggling with disappointment. Kindness begins with the realization that we never know the whole story. Instead of rushing to judge, she chooses to understand. Instead of assuming the worst, she gives people the benefit of the doubt. That simple choice changes relationships in ways we often don't realize. Kindness also requires humility. It means recognizing that no one is above serving others. It is found in the small moments that rarely receive applause. A sincere compliment, a patient conversation, a helping hand, or a simple smile. These actions may seem insignificant, but they often become the brightest moments in someone else's difficult day. We sometimes underestimate how powerful a small act of kindness can be because we only see it from our perspective. We don't always see the hope it gives to the person receiving it. The remarkable thing about kindness is that it is contagious. When one person chooses compassion instead of criticism, it inspires others to do the same. A single encouraging word can restore someone's confidence. One act of generosity can motivate another. One moment of forgiveness can heal years of broken trust. Kindness spreads quietly, creating a ripple effect that reaches far beyond what we can measure. We may never know how many lives are touched by one thoughtful action, but that doesn't make its impact any less real. Of course, kindness does not mean allowing people to take advantage of you. It is not about avoiding difficult conversations or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is tell the truth with love. Sometimes kindness means setting healthy boundaries because respect is an important part of genuine care. Real kindness is honest. It seeks the good of others, even when honesty is uncomfortable. Being kind does not require giving up your values. It requires expressing them with compassion. In a world that often celebrates competition, kindness offers a different way to lead. Instead of asking, "How can I be better than others?" it asks, "How can I make others better?" That shift changes everything. A woman who genuinely celebrates another person's success instead of feeling threatened by it demonstrates a confidence that cannot be shaken. She understands that another person's light does not diminish her own. There is enough room for everyone to grow, succeed, and shine. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel valued. Beauty may capture attention for a moment, but kindness captures hearts for a lifetime. A kind woman creates an atmosphere where people feel safe to be themselves. They know they won't be mocked for their mistakes or judged for their imperfections. They know they will find understanding instead of condemnation. That kind of presence is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes unforgettable. At the end of the day, the measure of a meaningful life is not how many people admired us, but how many people were better because we were part of their journey. Titles fade. Achievements are eventually forgotten. Even physical beauty changes with time. But kindness leaves a legacy that continues through every life it touches. It costs nothing to offer, yet it is more valuable than anything money can buy. And that is why a woman who chooses kindness every day possesses a beauty that never grows old and a strength that the world will always remember. One of the greatest struggles people face today is the pressure to become someone they are not. Everywhere we look, we are surrounded by images of perfection. Social media tells us how we should look, how we should dress, how we should speak, and even how we should live our lives. Without realizing it, many people begin wearing invisible masks. They hide their true personality because they are afraid they won't be accepted. They smile when they are hurting. They agree with opinions they don't believe in. They become experts at fitting in, but strangers to themselves. The tragedy is not that they fail to impress others. The tragedy is that they slowly lose sight of who they really are. A woman who is truly lovely and irresistible is different. She is comfortable being herself. She understands that authenticity is far more powerful than perfection. She doesn't pretend to know everything, and she doesn't feel the need to impress everyone. She accepts both her strengths and her weaknesses because she knows that being genuine creates deeper connections than pretending to be flawless ever could. Think about the people you enjoy spending time with the most. Chances are they are not perfect. They laugh at their mistakes. They admit when they don't know something. They are honest about their struggles and sincere about their dreams. Around them, you don't feel pressure to perform. You simply feel comfortable. Why? Because authenticity creates trust. When people know they are seeing the real you, they begin to trust you. And trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. Many people believe they must earn acceptance by becoming someone others admire. But the opposite is often true. People connect with honesty far more than they connect with perfection. When a woman embraces who she truly is, she gives others permission to do the same. She reminds people that they don't have to hide behind appearances or pretend to have a perfect life. Her confidence doesn't come from being the best in the room. It comes from knowing she has nothing to prove. Being authentic also means having the courage to stand by your values, even when they are unpopular. There will always be moments when following the crowd feels easier than following your convictions. There will always be voices telling you to change who you are in order to fit in. But a woman who knows herself understands that temporary acceptance is never worth sacrificing her character. She would rather be respected for being real than admired for being fake. This doesn't mean she never grows or changes. Authenticity is not about refusing to improve. Growth and authenticity actually go hand in hand. The difference is that her growth comes from a desire to become the best version of herself, not from the pressure to become someone else. She learns new skills, develops better habits, and gains new perspectives, but she never loses the values that define her. She changes because she is growing, not because she is pretending. There is also a quiet freedom that comes with authenticity. Imagine how exhausting it is to constantly worry about what everyone else thinks. Imagine changing your personality depending on who is around you, carefully choosing every word so no one disapproves. That kind of life is emotionally draining. But when a woman accepts herself, she no longer carries that burden. She stops chasing approval and starts living with peace. She understands that not everyone will like her, and that's perfectly okay. Her goal is not to be liked by everyone. Her goal is to be true to herself. Authenticity also transforms the way we handle failure. Someone who builds their identity on appearances often feels crushed by mistakes because every failure threatens the image they have created. But a genuine person sees failure differently. She knows that making mistakes does not make her less valuable. Instead of hiding her failures, she learns from them. Instead of pretending to be perfect, she becomes wiser through experience. This humility makes her stronger, not weaker. The most inspiring women in our lives are rarely remembered because they tried to imitate someone else. They are remembered because they had the courage to be themselves. Their uniqueness became their strength. Their honesty became their influence. They didn't spend their energy competing with others. They invested it in becoming the person they were meant to be. As a result, they left an impact that no imitation could ever achieve. When a woman is comfortable being herself, she creates an atmosphere where others feel safe to be genuine too. Conversations become more meaningful because there is no need for masks. Friendships become stronger because they are built on honesty rather than appearance. Relationships become healthier because trust replaces pretense. She doesn't attract people by trying to be perfect. She attracts them by being real. At the end of the day, trends will change. Fashion will change. Opinions will change. Even the expectations of society will continue to change. But authenticity never goes out of style. A woman who knows who she is, embraces her uniqueness, and lives according to her values possesses a confidence that cannot be manufactured. She understands that her greatest strength is not becoming a copy of someone else, but becoming the most genuine version of herself. And that quiet confidence, rooted in authenticity, is one of the most beautiful and irresistible qualities anyone can possess. One of the most beautiful qualities a woman can possess is the willingness to keep growing. Growth is not about becoming someone completely different. It is about becoming a better version of who you already are. The world often celebrates perfection, but real life doesn't work that way. None of us arrive with all the answers. None of us wake up one morning knowing everything we need to know. Life is a journey of learning, adapting, and improving. The women who leave the greatest impact are not those who never make mistakes. They are the ones who never stop learning from them. Think about the difference between a tree and a statue. A statue may look flawless, but it never changes. It never grows. It never becomes anything more than what it already is. A tree, on the other hand, begins as a tiny seed. It faces storms, harsh weather, and changing seasons. Yet with every challenge, it grows stronger. Its roots go deeper, its branches stretch higher, and one day it provides shade and fruit for others. People often admire the size of the tree, but they forget the years of steady growth that made it possible. In the same way, true beauty is found not in appearing perfect, but in choosing to grow every single day. A woman who embraces growth understands that every experience has something to teach her. Success teaches confidence, but failure teaches wisdom. Compliments can encourage us, but criticism, when received with humility, can help us improve. Instead of seeing setbacks as signs to quit, she sees them as opportunities to become stronger. She asks herself, what can I learn from this? Rather than, why did this happen to me? That single question changes the way she faces every obstacle. One of the greatest barriers to personal growth is the fear of making mistakes. Many people avoid trying new things because they are afraid of failing. They stay in their comfort zones because it feels safe. But comfort is often the enemy of growth. Nothing remarkable happens when we refuse to take risks. Every skill we admire in someone else was once something they struggled to learn. Every confident speaker was once nervous. Every successful leader was once inexperienced. Growth always begins with the courage to be a beginner. A woman committed to growth is also committed to lifelong learning. She understands that education does not end when school is over. She reads books that challenge her thinking. She listens carefully to people with different experiences. She asks thoughtful questions instead of pretending to know everything. She remains curious because curiosity keeps the mind alive. The moment we believe we have nothing left to learn is the moment we stop growing. Growth also requires humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself honestly. It means being willing to admit, I was wrong or I don't know, without feeling ashamed. Ironically, the strongest people are often the quickest to admit their mistakes because they know that their value is not determined by always being right. They are secure enough to learn. A woman with humility doesn't see correction as an attack on her identity. She sees it as an opportunity to become wiser. Another beautiful aspect of personal growth is emotional maturity. As we grow, we learn not only new skills, but also new ways of responding to life. Instead of reacting with anger, we learn patience. Instead of holding on to bitterness, we learn forgiveness. Instead of allowing fear to control us, we choose courage. Emotional growth often happens quietly, and because it happens inside us, others may not immediately notice it. But over time, people begin to see the difference. They notice the calmness, the wisdom, and the strength that come from someone who has allowed life's experiences to shape their character rather than harden their heart. Growth is also contagious. When a woman chooses to improve herself, she inspires others to do the same. Her family begins aiming higher because they see her example. Her friends become more motivated because of her attitude. Her children, if she has them, learn that learning never ends. She doesn't need to give long speeches about self-improvement because her actions speak louder than her words. The best leaders are not those who tell people to grow. They are the ones who show what growth looks like. It is important to remember that growth is rarely dramatic. Most of the time, it happens through small, consistent choices. Reading a few pages of a good book each day, learning a new skill, practicing patience during a difficult conversation, choosing discipline over excuses. These tiny decisions may seem insignificant, but over months and years, they create extraordinary transformation. Just as a river shapes a mountain one drop at a time, daily habits shape the person we become. Perhaps the most inspiring part of growth is that it never truly ends. No matter how successful, knowledgeable, or experienced we become, there is always another lesson to learn, another perspective to understand, another opportunity to improve. This mindset keeps a woman humble, hopeful, and full of purpose. She does not compare her journey with someone else's because she knows that her greatest competition is the person she was yesterday. At the end of life, people will not admire us because we were flawless. They will remember us because we kept becoming better. They will remember the woman who never allowed failure to define her, who welcomed learning with an open heart, and who faced every season of life with courage and determination. True beauty is not found in standing still. It is found in continually growing, continually learning, and continually becoming the person you were created to be. And that commitment to growth is one of the most irresistible qualities anyone can possess. One of the clearest signs of a truly remarkable woman is not how brightly she shines on her own, but how many other people shine because of her. In today's world, we are often taught that success is a competition. We are encouraged to compare ourselves with others, to measure our worth by someone else's achievements, and to believe that if another person succeeds, somehow there is less success left for us. But the most inspiring women see life differently. They understand that real success is not about standing above others. It is about lifting others up. Think about the people who have made the greatest difference in your life. They probably weren't the ones who constantly talked about themselves or tried to prove how important they were. Instead, they were the people who encouraged you when you doubted yourself. They celebrated your victories as if they were their own. They reminded you of your potential when you couldn't see it yourself. Their greatest gift was not their own success. It was their ability to bring out the best in others. That is a quality that never goes unnoticed. A woman who lifts others up understands that confidence and comparison cannot exist together. Insecure people compete because they believe there is only one place at the top. Secure people encourage because they know there is room for everyone to grow. She is not threatened by another woman's beauty, intelligence, talent, or achievements. Instead of feeling jealous, she feels inspired. She understands that another person's success is proof of what is possible, not a reminder of what she lacks. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is offer genuine encouragement. Sometimes a few sincere words can completely change the direction of someone's life. A compliment given at the right moment can restore confidence. A message of support can help someone keep going when they are ready to give up. A simple "I believe in you" can become the reason someone takes the next step toward their dreams. We often underestimate the power of our words because they seem ordinary to us. But to someone else, they may become unforgettable. Lifting others up also means celebrating their victories without expecting anything in return. This can be surprisingly difficult because our natural instinct is often to compare. When someone receives the promotion we wanted, earns recognition we hoped for, or achieves a goal before we do, it's easy to let jealousy take over. But a woman of character chooses a different response. She applauds their success sincerely because she understands that kindness is not a transaction. She doesn't encourage others because it benefits her. She encourages them because it reflects the kind of person she has chosen to become. True leadership begins with service. Many people think leadership is about being in charge, but real leadership is about taking care of the people around you. A woman who lifts others up asks different questions. Instead of asking, "How can people help me succeed?" she asks, "How can I help others succeed?" That shift in perspective changes everything. She becomes someone who listens more than she speaks, supports more than she criticizes, and gives more than she takes. Ironically, these are the very qualities that make others naturally respect and admire her. Another beautiful characteristic of women who lift others up is their willingness to share opportunities. They do not guard knowledge out of fear that someone else might surpass them. They mentor, they teach, they introduce people to valuable connections. They recommend others for opportunities. They understand that knowledge grows when it is shared, and influence grows when it is used to benefit others. They realize that one of the greatest measures of success is not what you achieve alone, but what you help others achieve. Of course, lifting others up does not mean ignoring your own dreams or sacrificing your well-being. It simply means refusing to build your success at someone else's expense. It means treating people with respect, even in competitive environments. It means believing that kindness and ambition can exist together. A woman can pursue excellence while still celebrating the excellence of those around her. In fact, the strongest women often do both. The ripple effect of encouragement is extraordinary. Imagine a young girl who receives support from a teacher who believes in her. Years later, that girl becomes a leader who inspires hundreds of others. Imagine a friend who is struggling with self-doubt but receives a few words of hope at exactly the right moment. Those words may influence decisions that affect an entire family, a business, or even a community. We rarely see the full impact of our encouragement because it continues long after the conversation ends. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel stronger. They enjoy being around individuals who celebrate their progress instead of competing with it. A woman who consistently lifts others up creates an atmosphere of trust, hope, and possibility. Her presence brings peace instead of pressure. Others leave conversations with her feeling more confident than when they arrived. That is a rare gift, and it is one of the reasons she becomes unforgettable. At the end of life, achievements alone are not what define a legacy. Awards collect dust, titles eventually disappear, and material possessions lose their value. What remains are the lives we touched, the people we encouraged, and the opportunities we created for others. A truly lovely and irresistible woman understands that greatness is not measured by how high she climbs, but by how many people she helps rise with her. She knows that the strongest hands are not the ones reaching only for success. They are the ones reaching back to lift someone else along the way. And that kind of strength is the kind the world never forgets. Life has a way of revealing who we truly are. It is easy to be calm when everything is going well. It is easy to smile when people agree with us. It is easy to be patient when life unfolds exactly as we planned. But true character is not revealed in moments of comfort. It is revealed in moments of challenge. It is during disappointment, conflict, and uncertainty that we discover what truly lives inside us. A woman who leads with grace understands this. She knows that while she cannot always control what happens to her, she can always choose how she responds. Grace is one of those qualities that is difficult to define but impossible to ignore. It is not weakness, and it is certainly not pretending that life is perfect. Grace is the ability to remain calm when emotions invite us to react. It is choosing wisdom over impulse, patience over frustration, and understanding over anger. In a world where people are often praised for having the loudest voice, grace reminds us that quiet strength can be even more powerful. Think about water flowing around a rock in a river. The rock may seem strong because it is hard and unmovable, but over time, it is the gentle, persistent flow of water that shapes the landscape. Grace works in much the same way. It does not force its way into every situation. It does not need to overpower others to prove its strength. Instead, it quietly transforms relationships, diffuses conflict, and creates peace where there could have been division. A woman who leads with grace does not allow temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. She understands that anger often speaks before wisdom has a chance to think. That does not mean she never feels hurt or disappointed. She experiences the same emotions as everyone else. The difference is that she refuses to let those emotions become her master. Instead of reacting immediately, she pauses, she listens, she reflects. She chooses words that build rather than destroy. That simple pause often makes the difference between a relationship that grows stronger and one that falls apart. Grace is also deeply connected to humility. It means recognizing that none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. We all have moments we wish we could undo. A graceful woman does not spend her energy pretending she has never failed. She is willing to admit when she is wrong, apologize sincerely, and learn from her experiences. Ironically, this willingness to acknowledge imperfection does not make her appear weaker. It makes her more trustworthy because people know they are seeing someone who values honesty over pride. Another remarkable quality of grace is the ability to forgive. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. Many people believe forgiving someone means pretending the hurt never happened or allowing harmful behavior to continue. But true forgiveness is different. It is choosing not to let bitterness control your future. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy weight every day. The person who hurt you may have moved on, but you continue carrying the burden. Grace allows you to put that weight down. It does not erase the memory, but it frees your heart from being trapped by it. Leading with grace also means treating every person with dignity, regardless of their position or status. It is easy to be kind to people who can benefit us. The real test of character is how we treat those who have nothing to offer in return. A graceful woman speaks respectfully to everyone, the receptionist, the waiter, the cleaner, the stranger, and the executive. She understands that every person deserves respect because every person has value. Her kindness is not selective. It reflects who she is, not who the other person is. Grace becomes especially powerful during conflict. Every relationship experiences misunderstandings. Every family, friendship, and workplace will eventually face disagreement. In those moments, many people focus on winning the argument. A graceful woman focuses on protecting the relationship. She knows that proving a point is meaningless if it destroys trust. She listens before responding. She seeks understanding before demanding to be understood. She speaks with honesty, but she delivers that honesty with compassion. Her goal is not victory over people, but growth with people. There is also a quiet confidence in grace. A woman who leads with grace does not feel the need to defend herself against every criticism or respond to every negative comment. She understands that not every battle deserves her energy. Some misunderstandings can be clarified. Others must simply be released. She knows that peace is often more valuable than having the final word. This wisdom allows her to protect her emotional well-being while staying true to her values. One of the most beautiful things about grace is that it inspires others without demanding attention. Children learn patience by watching her example. Friends find comfort in her calm presence. Colleagues respect her because she remains composed under pressure. She creates environments where people feel safe, heard, and valued. Her influence does not come from authority or popularity. It comes from consistency. Day after day, she chooses kindness over cruelty, wisdom over impulse, and dignity over drama. At the end of the day, people rarely remember every conversation they had with you, but they always remember how you made them feel during difficult moments. They remember the person who remained calm when everyone else panicked. They remember the one who responded with compassion instead of judgment. They remember the woman who refused to let hardship harden her heart. That is the true beauty of grace. It is strength wrapped in kindness, courage expressed through patience, and wisdom demonstrated through love. A woman who leads with grace does not simply make life more peaceful for herself. She makes life better for everyone fortunate enough to know her. And that quiet, unwavering grace is one of the most irresistible qualities anyone can possess. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that what makes a woman truly lovely and irresistible is not her appearance, but her character. It is her purpose that gives her direction, her kindness that touches hearts, her authenticity that builds trust, her commitment to growth that inspires others, her willingness to lift people up that creates lasting impact, and her grace that shines brightest during life's greatest challenges. Beauty may capture attention for a moment, but character earns respect for a lifetime. So let us all strive to become people whose presence leaves the world a little kinder, stronger, and more hopeful than we found it. Thank you all for your time, your attention, and your open hearts. May you leave today inspired to live with purpose, lead with kindness, and become the very best version of yourselves. Thank you, and may God bless you all.